चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं। कल अपन ने रिक्वायरमेंट मॉडलिंग स्टार्ट कर दिया था। रिक्वायरमेंट मॉडलिंग में अपन ने पहले 3 चीज़ें ऑलरेडी डिस्कस कर चुके हैं अपन। रिक्वायरमेंट एलिसिटेशन की बात की थी अपन ने, और मॉडलिंग के अंदर भी अपन ने क्लास बेस्ड मॉडलिंग, डेटा मॉडलिंग और सिनेरियो बेस्ड मॉडलिंग कवर कर लिया था। ठीक है, आज अपन स्टार्ट करेंगे, उसके बाद नेक्स्ट पॉइंट है अपना फ्लो बेस्ड मॉडलिंग। ठीक है, कल जो अपने डिस्कस किया था उसमें अगर किसी को कुछ डाउट है तो पहले वो कवर कर लेते हैं। ऐसा कोई है, कोई पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट ड्यू रह रहा हो? चलो ठीक है, ठीक है। फिर अपन आज का टॉपिक कंटिन्यू करते हैं। आज अपन बात करेंगे मॉडलिंग के अंदर फ्लो बेस्ड मॉडलिंग की। तो फ्लो बेस्ड मॉडलिंग अपन ने पहले कल जब डिस्कस कर रहे थे तो मैंने एक चीज बताई थी कि चाहे अपन डेटा मॉडलिंग की बात करें, चाहे सिनेरियो बेस्ड मॉडलिंग की बात करें, चाहे अपन क्लास बेस्ड मॉडलिंग की बात करें, अपना प्राइम ऑब्जेक्टिव, मेजर ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या रहता है कि अपन सॉफ्टवेयर का स्ट्रक्चर डिफाइन करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि उसमें कौन कौन से डेटा पे अपने को ऑपरेट करना है, क्या क्या ऑपरेशंस परफॉर्म होंगे, कैसा कैसा आर्किटेक्चर होगा। आर्किटेक्चर की डिटेल्स नहीं कवर कर रहे हैं, पर ओवरऑल एक वायर फ्रेम तैयार करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि अपना सिस्टम क्या है, कैसा दिखता है एंड सो ऑन। ठीक है, अब जब अपन फ्लो बेस्ड मॉडलिंग की बात करेंगे तो अपन पर्टिकुलर सॉफ्टवेयर के, उस पर्टिकुलर सिस्टम के एक्शंस की बात करेंगे, उसके ऑपरेशंस की बात करेंगे, उसकी डायनेमिसिटी की बात करेंगे। रादर देन स्ट्रक्चर, नाउ वी विल टॉक अबाउट इट्स बिहेवियर, कि वो काम कैसे करने वाला है। तो नेक्स्ट जो दो चीजें अपन पढ़ने वाले हैं, फ्लो बेस्ड मॉडलिंग और बिहेवियर बेस्ड मॉडलिंग, ये दोनों ही उस पर्टिकुलर सिस्टम के ऑपरेशंस को, उसकी डायनेमिसिटी को डिफाइन करने के लिए काम आते हैं। तो फ्लो बेस्ड मॉडलिंग में, जैसा कि नाम से पता चल रहा है, वी आर ट्राइंग टू डिपिक्ट द फ्लो ऑफ डेटा विद इन आवर सिस्टम। ठीक है, तो इट डिफाइंस द इंफॉर्मेशन प्रोसेसिंग व्यू ऑफ द सिस्टम, यानी कि these models will represent our system as a black box where a data is input to the system, and after some processing data will come out of the system, right? So it is more of our system will become an information processing unit where something happens within the system and the input is transformed into the output. So in flow based modeling we'll try to uh, define all such sequences where some particular input has to be given to a particular module, sub-module, component, sub-component, or any single program or function of a system, and some particular required output will come out of that module, sub-module, or function. Fine. So then, so basically, in this case, flow-based modeling, we consider our system as a set of input, process, and output blocks. So our complete system will be depicted as many blocks where each block will have these three components. There will be one certain input as designated by the client, that what will be the input to that particular process, and then there will be some processing component which will process that input, and then some information will be output from that particular block. Also, in flow-based modeling, what we are trying to achieve is a leveled or a hierarchical modeling of the system. So there will be many levels within our models. So there will be a top level where all the input expected by the system will be depicted, and all the outputs produced by the system will be depicted. But in next level, in the level that will show more detail about our system, there will be many such small processes where input for each process and input for each output is depicted. And later then we can again break that each process into many sub processes, and we can repeat this cycle until unless all our processes are defined to a satisfactory level, to a satisfactory detail to be implemented later by our development team. चलो आगे चलते हैं। तो जब अपन फ्लो बेस्ड मॉडलिंग की बात कर रहे हैं तो अपने को कुछ चीजों का ध्यान रखना है। की पॉइंट्स क्या क्या है? पहला तो इट स्टार्ट्स विद द कंटेक्स्ट डायग्राम। तो जो लेवल 0 होगा या जो फर्स्ट लेवल होगा अपने फ्लो मॉडलिंग का, इट विल बी अ contextual diagram where we will depict all the inputs to be given to the system and all the outputs to be produced by the system. अब इसको समझने के लिए एक एग्जांपल लेते हैं। तो कोई भी एक जना जिन्होंने कल अपना प्रोजेक्ट नहीं बताया, वो आज अपना प्रोजेक्ट बताएं। ठीक है, तो ट्रैफिक मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम में क्या हो सकता है? लेट्स से इनपुट जो है, द इनपुट विल बी, let's say input from all the traffic lights, or we install, let's say we have installed cameras at all major circles and all major crossings within our city. वो इनपुट हो सकता है। उसके अलावा इनपुट क्या होगा कि लेट्स से जो अपना पुलिसिंग स्टाफ है, जो ट्रैफिक पुलिस है, उसके जो पर्सनल्स हैं, जो ऑफिशियल्स हैं, उन लोगों को लेट्स से अपन ने कोई ऐप बना के दी हुई है, उस ऐप के थ्रू वो कुछ कुछ इनपुट प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं सिस्टम में एंड सो ऑन। तो दिल भी ऐसा भी हो सकता है उसमें कुछ ऐसा मॉड्यूल भी हो जिसमें आम जनता जो है, सिटीजन जो है उस पर्टिकुलर सिटी के, वो भी कुछ इनपुट्स देते हो। इट कुड बी let's say a traffic violation report, or it could be their own profile, it could be their accident reports and so on. And let's say the output for the system can be let's say monitoring of the traffic. Let's say for at any point of time where the traffic is more, which roads are more congested, and output can also give us let's say an alert. So let's say for a accident report input by a citizen of the city, an alert can be sent to all the police officials who are currently working or who are currently posted in that particular area of the city and so on. So a contextual diagram will give us a brief overview of the complete system. So what all will be the input to the system and what all will be output by the system. Now again here we cannot provide all the minute details of the input as well as output, and particularly the details about how that information is being processed, which modules are separated by each other and how they are separated. Such information is not available in contextual diagrams. So data flow modeling, it starts with a contextual diagram where not many details are exposed about the system, but all inputs and desired outputs are depicted within the diagram. Second, all the inputs and outputs are very crucial. When we are talking about data flow diagrams, all inputs and outputs are very crucial. We have to specify them very clearly so that the implementation team can actually understand that what has to be implemented within the process block to achieve the transition from input to output. Third, we achieve a refinement at lower levels. So as we will go towards go from high to low in this hierarchy of flow modeling. At each level we should refine the processes that were depicted in higher levels. So let's say in higher level, if I depicted that the system will take input from citizens about their accident reports, and the output will be an alert. And in further case, let's say we will more clearly define that what will be the contents of that citizen report, accident report. Let's say our accident report will contain vehicle number, vehicle registration number, let's say some kind of a user ID, some kind of Aadhaar number or whatsoever to identify each citizen, and then there will be location that where that accident has happened, and then there will be other features like what was the date, time, and who is the person reporting that accident. Is it the same person who has met with an accident, or is it someone else? Or if it is someone else who is reporting this accident, then he or she can check wallets or any personal documents of that person and report that who is the person being injured and what is the current status, whether an ambulance has arrived or how many people are there, or whether that person is willing to help that person or not, and things like that. So we have given the details of the input, and at the same time in output we can say that an alert should go to all the police officials within, let's say, 5 kilometer area of that particular accident. And apart from that, alert should be generated, let's say, at the city headquarters. So that city headquarters can communicate with their individual officials and ask them to take care of the situation. And at the same time, when one alert can be sent to our ambulance department also, some medical department also, so that they can actively or very fastly they can go to that particular situation, go to that particular area and help out the people who has met with the accident. So that is what we are talking about refinement. So at one level, we give we very briefly define what has to be done, what will be the input, what will be the output. But at the lower level, we will go into more details of that until unless there is no further refinement possible in that particular branch of our data flow. Right. Next point is all flow should be meaningful. We should not depict flow for the sake of drawing the diagrams. Again, we are discussing it again and again that all this modeling activity should be valuable. It, and it should be simple as well, and it should be minimal as well. So we are not trying to just fill up number of pages or fill up the SRS document, so that we can be, like, we are not trying to be some kind of a novel writer here. So all flows depicted in data flows also should be meaningful before we add that to our SRS. Next is flow continuity between levels. So between levels, there should be a continuity of flow. Let's say if you break a bigger process into four sub processes, then those four sub processes should be able to process the same inputs that were given to their higher level process, and they should generate the same output that were depicted by the high level process. Fine. And if in higher level processes, higher level DFD, higher level this flow modeling, if one process was followed by another process, then even on a lower level, such kind of relationship between their sub processes should also exist. So the output of one process, if it was depicted to be treated as an input for another process, then their sub processes should also show that same very trend before, so that to ensure the flow continuity between different levels of our DFDs. And finally, we should try to achieve modular refining, where we are trying to distribute our complete problem statement, our complete software, our complete context into which modular components of a system. So there will be processes, sub processes, and then there can be sub processes and so on. Until unless even the last sub process within our system has been given enough detail to be able to implement that particular module or that particular process by the development team. तो फ्लो बेस्ड मॉडलिंग को अपन डिपिक्ट कैसे करते हैं, डेटा फ्लो डायग्राम से करते हैं। तो ये जो पहला एग्जांपल है डेटा फ्लो डायग्राम का, इसमें आप लोग देख रहे हैं कि बीच में जो सर्कल है ये डिपिक्ट कर रहा है अपने सिस्टम को। तो ये एक अगेन एग्जांपल मैंने बुक से लिया हुआ है। दे आर ट्राइंग टू क्रिएट अ सिस्टम, एन IoT बेस्ड सिस्टम which will be able to provide surveillance and security related security related features to their user. So the system is named Safe Home Software, and it takes two inputs. So one input is from the control panel of the hardware devices that are placed at different places at our home. At our home, this control panel is placed. It will take input, and it will be able to it will have a certain controller and some data processing modules, and it will also be able to take user commands, whether the commands can be in form of voice or it could be some keypad input and so on. So there'll be a control panel, and then there'll be some sensors. So these sensors can be, let's say, motion sensors, these can be cameras, these can be anything else like fire sensors and so on. So there could be any amount of sensors that are to be integrated with the system. So this particular software, it will take input from control panel as well as input from sensors, and what it will create is it will display information on the control panel. So whatever, after processing the user command, we can generate some output on the control panel, or we can create an alarm based on the sensor readings or based on the configuration provided by the control panel, or we can dial some telephone numbers to maybe notify of any breach within our home or any kind of fire and so on. So this is very brief, a large overview, a contextual view of our system, that our system will be able to take inputs from these two sources and create these three different kind of outputs. Now if we go to the level 1 of this particular data flow diagram, now this level 1 is supposed to provide more details into our system, right? So now if you could see that our inputs were control panel and sensors, and outputs were control panel display again, alarm and telephone line. Now at level 1, again the same input should be there and then same output should be there. So as you can see, control panel is there, sensors is there, and all the three different outputs is there. So that means the continuity of the flow is being maintained. All the same inputs and all the same outputs are generated by the level 1 diagram as well. Now what will happen, that the input from control panel will be taken up by a separate I can say sub process, let's say some kind of a dashboard or something, and that dashboard will create further requests based on what is being provided by the control panel. So let's say if user chooses to change the configuration of our uh, this system. Configuration can be password for entry, let's say a change of voice to unlock our home, or let's say to change the quality of our camera feed, or let's say to change maybe sensitivity of our motion sensors and so on. So there could be many things. So the user can opt to change the configuration of our system. So in that case, another sub process will be activated, which is configure system. It will take the configuration request and update our configuration database. So this configuration information here, it is our data store. It will store any relevant information that is required by our system. The configuration will update configuration data into our database. And similarly, the other operations could be the user can start or stop the system. Based on start or stop, there will be another process to activate or deactivate our system. Similarly, user can choose to change password or input password for further operations. And so basically, there is a sub process called process password for that case, and so on. So as you can see, there are different the main process this complete as software process, safe home software, is now broken up into 1 2 3 4 5 6 sub processes. And for each sub process we have defined what input it will take and what output it will generate, and these sub processes will interact with each other to obtain the same set of outputs that were depicted in the higher level diagram. So this, as you can see, these kind of diagrams, data flow diagrams, provide us a flow of data within the system, and each and every process depicted in a DFD will act as a working block or as a function or a module of the system. And once you have defined a DFD into sufficient detail, uh, any of your programmer or any member of your development team can look at this DFD and understand that how information is being processed within the system and how to implement each and every process within our system, right? But as you can see within this complete diagram, if even if we go to uh, even if we go to a very detailed view of the system also, let's say level 4 DFD or level 5 DFD, even in that case we are not getting the structure of the system. We are not getting that who will be the user of the system, or we are not getting the details about how the data will be stored, or what will be the data attributes, what will be the details about how the process has to be implemented and so on. So basically it is only providing us that how input is being transformed to the desired output. That's it. So it will help us in defining the architecture of our system, in a sense, to define all the modules, all the features, all the functionalities required by the system. But it will not help us define all the data structures or all the classes of our particular software, right? Next, the second part in our flow modeling is process specification. Now, once we have developed our DFDs, we have drawn our DFDs for the system. Now, what we can do, we can take each process and sub-process from those diagrams and provide a formal description of inputs, outputs, events, and operations associated with each operation, with each process that are identified at defined levels of DFD. So let's say once we have completed developing or designing our DFDs, we are reached to a, let's say a level 4 DFD, level 5 DFD, and now we are satisfied that all the details or the all the refinements have uh, successfully been embedded into our DFDs. Then we'll start taking up each sub process from that level 4, level 5 DFD, and we'll start defining that process, that what will be the output, nature of the output, what will be the input, what will be the characteristics, what are the validations to be performed at that input, what will be the events associated with that process, what will be the operations to be performed by the process, and so on. So this process specification is a very natural language oriented modeling architecture or a modeling thing. So it is very much based on how the particular how the requirements engineer will write up all the information that he has taken up from the customer. So it will try to define all this in natural language texts which again has a certain problems। जैसे कि अपन काफी देर से डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, 2-3 दिन हो गए बातें करते-करते, कि भी जब भी कोई भी नेचुरल लैंग्वेज में बात करेगा, तो क्या होगा, देयर विल बी मेनी थिंग्स एसोसिएटेड विद दैट। उसका लैंग्वेज टोन हो सकता है, उसकी लैंग्वेज की एफिशिएंसी हो सकती है, उसकी कॉम्प्रिहेंशन स्किल्स मैटर करती है, एंड सो ऑन, देयर आर मेनी फैक्टर्स एसोसिएटेड। इसलिए प्रोसेस स्पेसिफिकेशन, although it provides a very detailed view of the system, it is not usually recommended until unless you are very much confident about the comprehension skills or writing skills of your requirement engineer or the team that is taking care of our requirement modeling process।